It's come to be known as one of the best games in league history. Team Apuzo, who was down by 5 against Team Marino with under 6 minutes to go, fighting their way back. A comeback for the ages until Scotty Rose Growney, forcing the tie as this game would eventually be decided in a shootout. And that is where Katie Glenn came up as the hero, stopping the final shot and securing the win for Team Apuzo. That is the type of action that we have seen through the first 2 weeks of the Athletes Unlimited women's lacrosse season. Hard to imagine that we're already past the halfway point. Here are our captains, 3 of which are back in the chair for another week. And how about this? The top 2 separated by just 31 points. We will get to them in just a moment. But with that being said, we welcome you inside our studios. I'm John Brickley, your host for the night. Thanks as always for joining us here on YouTube. Be sure and like and share with your friends. And as always, a special shout out to our Unlimited Club members. Okay, let's get right to the draft rules here for week number 3. And there are 14 players on each team. Captains represent the first pick. So each captain will select 13 players to form their roster. Draft order will snake, starting with the purple captain, and every captain will get 2 minutes per pick. They do have to select players in a certain category because when players come into Athletes Unlimited, they have a designated position. Here's what the captains must do. They must end up with 4 attackers, 4 mids, 4 defenders, and 2 goalies. They can play those players in any position they want once they have them, but they must draft in those categories. All right, so time to meet the captains and the top 4 point getters. Here they are overall, with gold being the top performer thus far in the year of the leaderboard, followed by orange, blue, and purple. But let's meet the captains individually, and let's start with the first individual on the board. And she's a captain for the 2nd straight week. Her team's victory Sunday secured her spot once again in the top 4. She earned MVP honors again in that game, totaling 806 leaderboard points, 500 win points, and 216 MVP points. The captain for Team Johansson, wearing purple this week, former USC star number 7, Amanda Johansson. And her facilitator this week is going to be Amber Hill. Up next, a first-time captain this season in Athletes Unlimited. This player sits 3rd in the standings with 814 leaderboard points, 670 win points, 144 stat points. Number 1 in the league in caused turnovers. One of 3 players who remain undefeated through the first 2 weeks. She was a 2-time national champ with Maryland. The top defender this week, representing blue, the captain of Team Colson. There she is, Lizzie Colson. And her facilitator this week is going to be Christy Foote. Our next captain has been a consistent member this season in the top 4. She has led her team to back-to-back 3-0 weeks. Her 10 goals on the season having her tied for 3rd in the league. With 8 assists, sitting 2nd, just 31 points back of 1st in the leaderboard standings. The Magic Johnson of women's lacrosse, until she tells me otherwise. Back wearing the orange this week. The former BC star, Tewaaraton winner, always a smile on her face. There she is, number 14, Sam Apuzo. And her facilitator this week is going to be Nicole Flores. And lastly, sitting at number 1 on the leaderboard for the 2nd straight week, wearing the gold uniform with a total of 996 points, 150 MVP points. Her .570 save percentage is tops in the league, allowing 49 goals on the season. Tops in saves with 66 through the first 2 weeks. She's a rookie who's been acting more like a veteran in season number 1 in Athletes Unlimited. A national champion during her tenure at North Carolina. The goalie, number 77, Taylor Moreno. And her facilitator this week is going to be Renee Olson. All right, let's break down the scoring summary in just a moment, but first we're going to get to the Week 3 schedule. Here's how it turns out. Team Colson, Team Apuzo starts us off on Thursday on ESPNU. ESPN2 will also have coverage. Over the weekend, we'll see games available on ESPN Plus and on ESPNU. I mentioned the scoring summary. Players earn points in a variety of ways. First, it's stat points, points used to create an individual leaderboard. In addition, players will be awarded an additional 20 points if their team wins a single quarter. Athletes on the winning team in each game will earn 45 individual points each on the leaderboard, and a total of 3 MVPs will be selected following each game. All right, so there we go. We've got the captains ready to go. Picks are about to be made, and teams are going to be formulated here for week number 3. Up first is Team Johansson.
Midfielder, Ali Mastriani.
Interesting, we have seen now a third different #1 pick in the draft so far through the first 3 weeks. Ali Mastriani, the star coming out of North Carolina, is the first overall pick. Charlotte North went #1 in the beginning of the season, was followed by Marie McCool, and there is Ali Mastriani, who will be joining Team Johansson this week. Mastriani, who has been on a scoring surge this year. She's been racking up points across a variety of stats, including 18 draw controls, 8 goals, 6 caused turnovers, and 4 assists. Team Colson standing by, ready to make her first pick of the night.
Attacker, Charlotte North.
So we see the theme already. Charlotte North off the board, the league leader in points with 15 goals and 7 assists. Also has 4 two-point goals on the year. Two-time Tewaaraton winner from BC, the #1 overall pick in week 1. Take a look at just what the Dallas, Texas native has been able to do in her rookie debut. Again, just has been a scoring machine. Just a powerful shot from all spots on the field. Opposing goalies having no shot of stopping North. And Charlotte North, all smiles, taken 2nd overall. Last week she was 7th, but here she is, 2nd overall, going to Team Colson with her first pick of the night. 2 picks down already. We have seen Ali Mastriani and Charlotte North off the board, and Sam Apuzzo is standing by with her first pick of the night.
Midfielder, Dempsey Arsenault.
Well, Dempsey Arsenault went 1 the last time Sam Apuzzo was wearing orange, and once again, Dempsey is going to be with her former BC teammate, this time on Team Apuzzo, wearing the orange once again. Dempsey Arsenault, who herself was a captain last week and this week is joining Team Apuzzo. And again, if you've noticed, Sam has been doing a great job being able to draft her teams. That's because she has gone 3-0 in back-to-back weeks, and Dempsey joins in on the draft room for Team Apuzzo, the 3rd overall pick in week number 3. And so that leaves Team Marino with the final selection in round number 1, who is wearing the gold once again this week after a dominating performance between the pipes back in week number 2. And here is the list that all 4 captains are looking at. The attackers, the midfielders, and defenders. All 4 captains have to select 4 from each of those positions to round out their roster. And then, of course, you have to have 2 goalies. And Taylor standing by with her first pick of the night.
Midfielder, Marie McCool.
Marie McCool, a North Carolina standout, the top draw control specialist in the sport of women's lacrosse and Athletes Unlimited, is joining another former Tar Heel in Team Marino. And as this snake draft works, Team Marino is going to be drafting #1 in the 2nd round. So Marie McCool, who was last week's #1 overall pick, is back again this week as the 1st overall selection for Team Marino, and will be wearing the gold in Sparks, Maryland this weekend, where the USA Lacrosse headquarters is. And Marie making her way into the draft room. A top 4 selection for another week in Athletes Unlimited. So 1 round is in the books. As we go through the night, we will see all the available players in their respective positions still on the board in this week 3 draft. In season number 2 for Athletes Unlimited. And so as this snake draft continues, we await for Team Marino to make the first pick in round number 2. Each captain will have 2 minutes per pick throughout this draft to make up the 14-player roster for the 4 teams in Athletes Unlimited. And Team Moreno using a majority of the time and is ready to go. Taylor, who do you select in round 2?
Midfielder, Allie Kennedy.
Back-to-back midfielders is the way that Team Moreno goes to start things off in the first 2 rounds of this draft. Allie Kennedy, who back in week 1 had the overtime goal that helped Team Reed to victory. And again, Allie Kennedy has been a force. Here's some highlights from what we saw this past weekend. A scoring threat throughout and was a big contributor to Team Arsenal, wearing the purple over this weekend. However, she'll be donning the gold coming up for Team Moreno this coming weekend starting on Thursday. So Allie Kennedy and Ali Mastriani off the board, or I should say, sorry, Marie McCool are off the board here wearing the gold. And you see these draft rooms as the players get selected, join with the captain and the facilitator, all parties involved working towards the strategy of the captain on which direction they want to take the team. So on the clock right now is Team Apuzzo, as Sam went with her former BC standout teammate in Dempsey Arsenal. Those two who had a great career, a decorated career at BC. And Sam is ready to go with her selection.
Attacker, Lauren Gilbert.
Lauren Gilbert, who was a part of Team Apuzzo back in week 1, had 7 goals in her rookie debut. And you can see there her cause, Morgan's message coming out of Northwestern. Gilbert, a decorated Wildcat career. And you just notice the type of dodging ability that Lauren Gilbert has, forcing her way towards the cage. One of the premier scoring threats, not only in Athletes Unlimited, but also in her college career at Northwestern. So again, she will be joining Dempsey Arsenal and Sam Apuzzo, the first 2 selections who will be wearing orange this coming weekend for Team Apuzzo. And it's great to see the communication as well between the players who have been selected, the facilitator and the captain. They communicate, whether it be through DMs or on a Slack channel, not only through the Zoom, but also through texting to see which direction they should go in terms of drafting players. So 2 picks are in for round number 2, and we move on. Lizzie Colson. Lizzie, who do you got?
I think so.
So Lizzie taking every second she can of the 2 minutes to make her selection in round number 2. Went with Charlotte North with her first pick. Back in round number 1, here are the available players still left on the board. It's early. You got to pick 4 attackers, 4 midfielders, 4 defenders, and 2 goalies to make up the 14-player roster. And Lizzie Colson, the new captain of the week, and she is ready to go with her pick.
Attacker, Kenzie Kent.
I notice a theme going on with Team Colson here. It's a BC theme. We've seen it so far. Maryland and BC, they had some epic battles in college that Lizzie Colson was a part of, but this time going with a 2-way star out of Boston College, Kenzie Kent, who was phenomenal not only on the lacrosse field, but on the ice as well for the BC women's hockey team. She will be joining up with Charlotte North. Those 2 BC names you'll recognize for years to come. And so Lizzie Colson with 2 picks in, Charlotte North, and now Kenzie Kent. And Amanda Johansson ready to round out round number 2.
Attacker, Courtney Fortunato.
So another attacker is off the board, this time Courtney Fortunato, who's coming off back-to-back 4-goal games after just having 1 goal in the first 3 games. And in fact, she had 3 goals in 1 quarter in one of those games, a standout from her time at Notre Dame. And she joins in with Ali Mastriani on the draft room for Team Johansson, wearing purple this weekend starting on Thursday. So as this snake draft progresses, Team Johansson, who finished with the final pick in round number 2, will have the first selection to to begin round number 3. And this is the list of players that are still available on the board. 56 total players in Athletes Unlimited as we have reached week number 3. And Amanda is ready to go to start round 3.
Defender, Becca Block.
First defender taken off the board is the Geico Defensive Player of the Year from last season, that being Becca Block, with her cause being Harlem Lacrosse. A standout from her time at Syracuse, and Becca Block, who has been one of the premier defenders in Athletes Unlimited, and there she is, waving along with her teammates Ali Mastriani and Courtney Fortunato. So Team Johansson going defender to begin round number 3. Will that be the trend that we see from the rest of the captains? And here is how it had started. Team Johansson went with Ali Mastriani with the first overall pick. That was followed by Charlotte North, Dempsey Arsenault, and Marie McCool. Round number 2 started with Ali Kennedy, Lauren Gilbert, Kenzie Kent. That went to Team Colson, and Team Johansson going Courtney Fortunato, and now Becca Block to begin round number 3. And fans, don't forget, tickets on sale now as the season continues July 21st through August 14th in Sparks, Maryland. And don't miss your chance to see the excitement of Athletes Unlimited. Tickets available today at auprosports.com/tickets. And if you can't be there in person, you can always watch on ESPNU, ESPN2, and ESPN Plus. Joe Beninati, along with Courtney Martinez-Connor, will have the call. Lizzie, ready to go with her next selection.
Midfielder, Haley Warden.
Midfielder Haley Warden coming off the board, will be wearing blue this coming weekend. Warden, who was 6th in the point standings when it came to week number 1. You remember, she was part of that memorable run for James Madison back in 2018 that captured the national championship. And in fact, right now serves as an assistant for JMU. And just a side note as well, all of her siblings, in fact, played lacrosse at the Division I level. So she joins in on the draft room with Team Colson, along with the facilitator and the players that have been selected in Charlotte North and Kenzie Kent. And as we move on, Sam Apuzzo ready to go with her next pick.
Midfielder, Lindsay McCone.
Lindsay McCone will be wearing orange this coming weekend. So Dempsey Arsenault, Lauren Gilbert, midfielder and attacker. And this time it's another midfielder, McCone out of Northwestern. And you notice as well on all of the graphics that we show you here tonight, the causes for these players. Each player that joins in on Athletes Unlimited has a certain cause or charity that they play for. And what's great about it is half the leaderboard bonus that they have is matched and donated to that specific cause or charity. And so Lindsay joins in on the Zoom call with Sam Apuzzo and the wrath of the facilitator and the team. And fans, don't forget, it's time to earn points for watching. You can enter the code right now that you're seeing on your screen into your Athletes Unlimited app to earn points and move up the leaderboard. To get the app, download it today for free at your app store and get access to great AU content and experiences all season long. Taylor Moreno wrapping up this round number 3 with her pick.
Attacker, Sam Gyersbach.
All right, so another attacker is off the board. Sam Gyersbach, first attacker taken by Team Moreno to finish up round number 3. And talk about a performance. Certainly she has been making some noise. She moved up 8 spots from 14th to 6th. And another North Carolina star is off the board out of West Babylon, New York, to round out this 3rd round. And so we've seen so far the direction of a couple midfielders and attacker going the way for Team Moreno. Sam Apuzzo going with Dempsey Arsenault with her first pick, and the Zoom room continues to get bigger and bigger with all the players, once they hear their name by their respective captains, join that draft room, and then they can communicate with their fellow teammates, their captain, and the facilitator to round out the vision for the captains to see which direction they want to go to round out their team that puts them in the best position possible. Round number 4, ready to go, and Team Moreno standing by.
Defender, Emma Trenchard.
So we saw Becca Block get off the board, joining Team Johansson, another defender, the second one of the night, out of Windsor, Connecticut, and another North Carolina star, Emma Trenchard, one of the best defenders in Athletes Unlimited, taken here in round number 4. So a good mixture by Team Moreno in terms of balance, going back-to-back midfielders, followed by attacker, and now defense, and all waves and smiles throughout the North Carolina community. You'll hear North Carolina as the college of choice for many of these athletes in Athletes Unlimited. A great program built up by Jenny Levy. And here are the players that are still available, a number of defenders, a lot of great talented goalies. Katie Glynn, Britt Reed among those names. Of course, attacker-wise, you've got your choices among Sammy Jo Tracy, Molly Stevens. We saw the highlights of Scotty Rose Growney. And here in Athletes Unlimited, this is how the captains have to get their roster formulated. Attackers, you got to have 4 of those. You have to have 4 midfielders. You have to have 4 defenders and 2 goalies. That is the roster position breakdown. And Sam Apuzzo has had a good balance thus far of 2 attackers, one of which is herself, and 2 midfielders. So will she go goalie here? Perhaps defense? If you recall, back in week 1, she selected Taylor Moreno as the first goalie off the board. In fact, that week, Sam was the only non-goalie of the 4 captains. Sam Apuzzo using as much of the 2 minutes is allowed, and Sam is ready to go with the thumbs up.
Defender, Caroline Wakefield.
Caroline Wakefield, defender, coming off the board. She put up an MVP 1 performance on Sunday, and another North Carolina star is off the board. So Emma Trenchard and now Caroline Wakefield going back-to-back defensive selections for the respective captains. Her cause being Preston's League. Sam Apuzzo going Dempsey Arsenal with her first overall pick. Had Lauren Gilbert as well. And Caroline Wakefield. And you see the numbers there at the bottom of your screen in terms of caused turnovers. Lizzie Colson is number 1, the only one in double digits. Caroline Wakefield right there behind her with 9. And Amanda Johansson, another captain, repping the purple this week with 8. Arsenal and McCool are the others that are right now tied with 7. So we have seen some great talent coming off the board in a number of positions. So far, defense has been the theme in round number 4. Emma Trenchard and Caroline Wakefield. Which direction does Team Colson go? Lizzie, who do you pick?
Midfielder, Katie O'Donnell.
Katie O'Donnell, who had the game winner in that historic comeback for Team Apuzzo over the weekend. A veteran player out of Penn State. She will be donning the blue jersey this coming weekend. In that game, she had her first hat trick. In fact, she had 4 goals in that game. So Katie O'Donnell, the hero, and now will be joining up with Lizzie Colson, Kenzie Kent, Haley Warden, along with Charlotte North. So that team, Colson growing even more pick by pick, which then leaves Team Johansson with the final selection of round number 4 in this snake draft. And Amanda is ready to go. Amanda, who is your pick?
Yes. Midfielder, Kelsey Huff.
Kelsey Huff, the latest selection to round out the 4th round of this Week 3 draft special out of USC. So for a couple of former USC stars joining up together, Kelsey Huff and her team captain, Amanda Johansson. So that is now 3 midfielders selected in the early going as Kelsey joins in on the draft room for Team Johansson. And so now with her in the mix, she can help the facilitator, the rest of the team, as well as the team captain, Amanda Johansson, on the selection in this snake draft, which will have Team Johansson selecting number 1 in round number 5. And we take a look at week 3 of 4 here in Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse. Hard to imagine, really, that we're already past the halfway point. We'll see Thursday's games coming up on ESPNU and on ESPN2. Players will get to rest on Friday, back in action in Sparks, Maryland, just outside of Baltimore, coming up on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday's games on ESPN Plus, Sunday on ESPNU. Amanda, ready to go to start us off in round 5.
Attacker, Hallie Majorana.
Hallie Majorana is heading to Team Johansson this week out of Syracuse. She put together a stellar performance thus far. She right now is tied for 3rd in scoring and is number 1 in assists. And Team Johansson, pretty happy to have her, because if you look at the action that they had over the weekend, she had a season-high 5 points versus Team Johansson. So those two meeting up as teammates. And I just mentioned before, Hallie right now sitting alone in first place in terms of assists with 11. Sam, who's been known to be just an assist queen in women's lacrosse, 8 for her. Jamie Ortega, who's still on the board right now. Charlotte North, both with 7. And then you've got a bunch of players there who also have 5 assists. As we continue on in this draft, Lizzie Colson ready to go with her next pick.
Defender, Katrina Geiger.
So another defender is off the board after going back-to-back attack and midfielder. Lizzie Colson, along with Katrina Geiger, halfway there in terms of selecting 4 defenders. Support a sport is her cause. And she is now officially in the draft room for Team Colson, as those draft rooms get bigger and bigger, with players getting their names heard, selected, and then being placed in those respective draft rooms. And you'll also have confirmation teams, picks that work, see if the captain has that open slot to the roster. And so we're halfway through round number 5. Geiger and Majorana, the first 2 selections in round number 5 of this week 3 draft special. So we're still waiting to see which goalie will be the first off the board here tonight. Will that be the case, the route that Team Apuzzo goes? You look at what she did so far: Dempsey Arsenault, Lauren Gilbert, Lindsay McCone, and Caroline Wakefield. And we've noticed, too, the trend with Team Apuzzo, Sam, is very much involved in terms of going almost the full distance on her 2 minutes allotted to figure out what direction she wants to go. And she right now is one of 3 players, including one of her fellow captains, Lizzie Colson, that are 6-0 for their first 2 weeks. And here, who is available? Team Apuzzo is on the clock.
Defender, Kristen Carr.
Back-to-back defenders for Sam Apuzzo in round number 5. Kristen Carr will be wearing the orange this coming weekend, another North Carolina standout, and she won't be too far from home, a native of Baltimore, one of the hotbeds when it comes to lacrosse. All the games for Athletes Unlimited played in Sparks, Maryland, the site of the USA Lacrosse headquarters. And so back-to-back defenders is where Team Apuzzo elects to go in these past 2 selections. Wearing the orange this weekend will be Carr, Wakefield after that, or before that, I should say. And as the players join in on the draft room, discussions continue, whether it be through text messages or DMs on the Slack channel, to try to get input from not only the facilitator, but also from the fellow teammates that the captain selects to encompass the vision that they want to see their respective teams become. So Taylor Moreno is going to have the final selection of this round as this snake draft continues. And Taylor is ready to go to make the final pick of round 5.
Midfielder, Alyssa Perella.
The third midfielder selected by Team Marino, Alyssa Perella, out of Hofstra, is going to be wearing gold this coming weekend to begin round number 5. So the draft rooms for Team Marino continue to be built up. Players available, you'll notice 2 names that are not on the board, Kayla Wood and Jamie Ortega. Both who are right now dealing with injuries, not likely to play this coming weekend. But still, a lot of talent still be left on the board, whether it be attackers, midfielders, defenders, or goalies. Taylor will begin this next round. Will she go with a backup goalie? Still available on the board, Katie Glynn, Britt Reed. Could she go defense? Still a lot of great talent available, and let's go to Taylor to begin round 6.
Attacker, Scotty Rose-Grani.
Well, we saw the highlights off the top of the show. Scotty Rose-Grani is going to be starting off round number 6 wearing gold this coming weekend. Another North Carolina standout. Gold again will she be wearing, with her cause being Morgan's Message. Excited once again. You can tell just joining in on the draft room, a lot of North Carolina powder blue in that draft room. Taylor not going too far from home to begin this draft through the few rounds that we have seen thus far. And so up on the clock now is going to be Sam Apuzzo for Team Apuzzo. She's gone back-to-back defense. Could she go goalie? We saw back in week 1, she did take Taylor Marino off the board. So Scotty Rose-Grani begins this round number 6 with Team Apuzzo, Team Colson, and Team Johansson still to select for the rest of round number 6. And you'll notice as well, too, that, as I mentioned, players have 2 minutes to make their picks, and Sam is standing by, ready to make her selection.
Attacker, Alex Ostholman.
Alex Ostholman, who we saw her husband Marcus over the weekend have another brilliant performance in the PLL. She has taken round number 6 out of Maryland, with her cause being Harlem Lacrosse. And there is Alex coming into the draft room, a member of Team Apuzzo this week, with the likes of Lauren Gilbert, Dempsey Arsenal. All smiles, all waves, excited to be a part of Team Apuzzo wearing the orange this week. And so that now leaves Lizzie Colson, the captain for Team Colson, on the clock in this week 3 draft special. Attackers, midfielders, defenders, and goalies. 4 attackers, 4 midfielders, 4 defenders, and 2 goalies. That's what all the captains must do in fulfilling their 14-player roster requirement. And this is the board that the players are looking at, talking with their facilitators and their fellow teammates that they've already selected. Still a handful of attackers and midfielders on the board. We still have yet to see the first goalie come off the board. Kaylee Waters, Molly Wolf, still some of the names that are available to be selected. And Lizzie, take it away. Who's your pick?
Attacker, Nicole Levy.
Nicole Levy is going to be wearing blue this coming weekend in Smarks, Maryland. The latest selection by Team Colson. Her standout play from Syracuse, but let's take some look at the highlights that we saw over the weekend. How about those? The dunk there by the veteran. Instrumental in the performance for Orange last week. This week, however, Nicole Levy is going to be donning the blue uniform. So trading in the Syracuse orange for the powder blue, in essence. Team Colson with the selection, and that leaves Amanda Johansson, the captain, with the final selection. Amanda, who do you got?
I'm ready. Defender, Meg Dowdy.
Meg Dowdy, who next to Becca Block, in my opinion, two of the top defenders in Athletes Unlimited, a star in her time at Maryland. As the Fairhaven, New Jersey native is selected as the final pick in round number 6, and the second defender that joins up with Megan Block, or Becca Block, I should say, is Megan Dowdy there. The bottom of your screen, joining in on the draft room call with Team Johansson. So again, how this draft works, it's a snake draft. So Team Johansson, who selected first overall, as it continues through, now is going to be selecting number 1 in the next round. And as we await Team Johansson for their selection, want to remind you all, new season, new look, and oh yeah, there's new merch. You got to be sure to check out all of the brand new Athletes Unlimited items, including lacrosse player names and number tees. Go to shop.auprosports.com to purchase yours today. We roll on to round 7. Amanda, you're up.
Midfielder, Jill Girardi.
Jill Girardi, taken as the first pick in round number 7, will be staying wearing that purple that she wore at Northwestern. The Watertown, New York native, the first selection in round number 7. And so another midfielder comes off the board, this time going to Team Johansson. So after going attacker and defense in rounds 5 and 6, Jill Girardi, the latest selection in round number 7. And as we move on, Lizzie Colson is up next with her pick.
Are you ready? Goalie, Katie Glenn.
Well, it took a while, in fact, all the way till round number 7, but Katie Glenn is the first goalie off the board, and she has had herself a stellar performance, coming off 21 saves. In fact, in that game against Team Marino, holding her to just 2 goals in that Saturday shootout. And Loyola, Maryland grad is wearing blue once again. She was the captain of blue back in week number 1. She was drafted by Sam Apuzzo in week 2, and now here in week number 3, she is the first goalie off the board. And she is in that top 10, moved up 11 spots to number 5 on the leaderboard. So she has been not only an asset to some of her team captains, but also a threat moving up that leaderboard. So halfway through round number 7, and Sam Apuzzo, the captain for Team Apuzzo, ready to make her pick.
Midfielder, Grace Griffin.
Midfielder Grace Griffin will be heading to Team Apuzzo, the third midfielder selected. For Team Apuzzo, wearing the orange this coming weekend, a star in her time at Maryland under head coach Kathy Reese. And so the first 3 selections in the books in this round number 7. That leaves Team Marino with the final selection of this round, and that draft room for Team Apuzzo continues to grow up to 9 individuals, with the players, facilitator, and team captain Sam Apuzzo, who, by the way, if you're a member of the Unlimited Club, Sam will be there for the meet and greet following us here on YouTube with the meet and greet with Sam Apuzzo. You can upgrade or join as an MVP or captain to join the Unlimited Club meet and greet. One of the great personalities in the sport of women's lacrosse is Sam Apuzzo. You definitely will have some fun interacting with her. As we look at the rosters for the 4 respective teams, we still got 1 selection to go in round number 7 for Team Moreno. And the way it works out in this snake draft, Taylor will have the final selection in round 7 and the first in round 8. And Taylor is ready to go here in round 7.
Defender, Kira Pelton.
Another defender is off the board. Kira Pelton, the second defender, who will join Emma Trenchard. Out of Stanford was Pelton, and you see the Out Foundation as her cause. So round number 7 begins with defense. And thus far we've seen 3 midfielders, 2 defense, a couple of attackers, and Taylor the lone goalie thus far. And as these players are drafted, they join in on the respective draft rooms by the captains who selected them, and they can be a part of the drafting process the rest of the way, which is a great part of the draft coverage for Athletes Unlimited. Each and every week, new captains are formed, new teams are put together, and so all the captains right now are looking at this list: attackers, midfielders, defenders, and goalies, as we are now all the way to round number 8 in this week 3 draft special of 13 rounds. The captains themselves serve as the first pick for their respective teams, and then after that they've got to fill out the rest of their roster. So you've got to have 4 attackers, 4 midfielders, 4 defenders, and 2 goalies. And while we wait for Taylor's pick, just a reminder as well, for every assist during this year's Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse season, Aspiration is planting 10 trees. So heading into this week, 1,020 trees have been committed this season thanks to Aspiration's support. As we await Taylor's pick to begin round number 8, here are the top goalies in terms of save percentage, and Taylor is right up there through the first 2 weeks of the season. We've seen Katie Glynn, her name off the board with Team Colson, along with Britt Reed and Kaylee Waters. And Taylor Marino ready to go with the 8th round selection.
Defender Molly Little.
Another defender. After Kira Pelton, it's Molly Little out of Denver. So back-to-back defenders. That'll be the 3rd one taken by Team Marino here in round number 8. And so 3 midfielders, 2 attackers, and now 3 defenders. We move on to Team Apuzzo, and Sam is ready with her pick.
Defender, Ella Simpkins.
So we're starting to see a trend in this 8th round. Ella Simpkins, who took a massive jump on the leaderboard. She went up 21 spots this week to number 27. She picked up 357 points during week 2, including 315 win points as a member of Team Apuzzo. So Sam knows talent on her team through the first 2 weeks of the season after back-to-back 3-0 weeks. And so Ella Simpkins is coming off the board and will be donning the orange this coming weekend in Sparks, Maryland. These are the athletes remaining, and as we await Team Colson's selection, it gets a little bit more daunting and challenging for these captains because they've got to pick their respective positions and categories to fulfill the necessary requirements. And Lizzie, who do you have to pick in this round?
Midfielder, Kelly McPartlin.
Kelly McPartlin is going to Team Colson in round number 8, the 3rd selection out of Maryland. So a couple of former Maryland Terps joining up together as McPartlin, the latest midfielder. That'll be the 3rd on the roster for Team Colson, wearing blue this weekend in Sparks, Maryland. And as her name has been called, she walks in and wearing the Athletes Unlimited jersey, there it is, or the pullover, the same one that I have on. So she's in the draft room call right now with Lizzie Colson, her captain, facilitator, and the rest of the team selected by Team Colson. So again, week number 3 of this draft special of 4 weeks of Athletes Unlimited. We have seen just some great talent so far off the board. We've only seen, however, 1 goalie being selected, that being Katie Glynn, who was taken by Team Colson earlier in this draft. So as we work our way through this week 3 draft special, it leaves Team Johansson with the final pick of round number 8. We saw Molly Little, Ella Simpkins, and latest to be Kelly McPartlin off the board. So what direction is Team Johansson going to go? She gives us the answer now.
Goalie, Kaylee Waters.
So North Carolina has been the focal point between the pipes. We saw Taylor Marino being a captain, and now Kaylee Waters out of Darien, Connecticut, a former captain herself who wore gold in week number 1. And there is Kaylee in the bottom right portion of your screen, a former national champion with North Carolina. She joins Team Johansson and will be wearing purple this weekend. And as the snake draft continues, it'll be Team Johansson drafting number 1 in round 9. And this is the selection of players that Amanda can choose from. A handful of attackers, just 3 midfielders, 5 defenders, and 5 goalies are left on the board. And Amanda is ready to go here in round 9.
Defender, Courtney Taylor.
We're starting to see defenders become more popular in the latter stages of this draft. Another Boston College standout is off the board, this time being Courtney Taylor, with her cause being Team Impact. So a nice balance of selections made by Team Johansson after every pick. We see the selection this time being Taylor into the Team Johansson draft room. And you'll notice the facilitator joining in as well. That acts more like the assistant GM, helping map out the plan put together by the respective captains to make sure that they are meeting the necessary requirements for the 14-player roster that includes 4 attackers, 4 midfielders, 4 defenders, and 2 goalies. So Courtney Taylor begins round number 9. We'll be heading to Team Johansson. That leaves Team Colson on the board. And last time she went with Kelly McPartlin, Katie Glynn, Nicole Levy, Katrina Geiger, Katie O'Donnell, Kelly Warden, Kenzie Kent, and Charlotte North is Team Colson. And this is where the strategy becomes ever so challenging and difficult for these captains, especially ones that have never been in this chair before, trying to find out the best available pick that can help their team get those win points. Which direction will Lizzie Colson go in her first time in the chair this week? As we await Lizzie Colson's selection in round number 9, don't forget, the Unlimited Club provides great benefits, including voting on league decisions, interaction with players, signed items, and more. For more information or to join today, go to auprosports.com. Get that virtual meet and greet with players. Sam Apuzzo, this week's meet and greet if you're part of the Unlimited Club. Sam, one of the 4 captains this week, and Lizzie Colson using a majority of her 2 minutes to make this next selection in round 9. Where will she go? Attacker, midfield, defender, or goalie? It'll be interesting to see, especially for Lizzie being number 1 in terms of defense in this season of Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse. And as we say that, Lizzie, who's your selection in round 9?
Ready. Defender, Sydney Pareka.
Lizzie Colson going with a fellow defender in round number 9 after taking McPartlin there in round 8. Sydney Pareka out of Florida, a Mount Sinai, New York native. Defense is the way to go, and so that'll be the 3rd defender here for Team Colson. One more to fill that necessary requirement. And as we make our way through round number 9, that puts Team Apuzzo on the clock. Her first overall pick was Team Arsenault. And while we have a chance, we'll take a sneak peek into the draft room of Team Colson. You see in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, Katie Glynn, who was a captain her first week. First goalie off the board this week. She was tremendous in that win for Team Apuzzo in that first ever shootout victory over Team Moreno over the weekend. saw the highlights at the beginning of the broadcast, just some of the great action that we have seen through the first 2 weeks of Athletes Unlimited. And as we wait for Team Apuzo to make their selection, here is the roster, and with that, we send it over to Sam with her pick.
Attacker, Shayna Preka.
So another attacker is off the board. I think we just did. Preka back-to-back. I think that might be a first in Athletes Unlimited draft coverage history. An attacker, Preka, who just like her sister played at Florida. And that will be the fourth attacker taken by Sam Apuzo, so that fulfills that requirement. She's got 3 defenders, so she needs 1 more midfielder, and she still has to worry about getting 2 goalies. But Preka off the board for Sam Apuzo and Team Apuzo in round number 9, leaves Team Moreno with the final selection in round number 9. Taylor gives the thumbs up and is ready to close out round 9.
Attacker, Molly Stevens.
Another attacker, Molly Stevens, selected as the latest player to go to Team Moreno. Another Florida Gator. I think we had 3 straight Florida Gators coming off the board in round number 9. And as the snake draft continues, Team Moreno is going to be selecting number 1 in round number 10. So 3 defenders, 3 midfielders, and 3 attackers. A well-balanced draft thus far for Team Moreno, wearing the gold this week for the 2nd straight week. Don't forget, you can always stay connected. Follow us on Twitter at AU Pro Sports. Also available on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on Instagram. Taylor is ready to go to begin round 10.
Attacker, Izzy McMahon.
Izzy McMahon is going to be wearing the gold this weekend in Sparks, Maryland. Back-to-back attackers. Former USC star, taken to begin round number 10. So that'll be the 4th and final attack selection by Team Moreno after taking Molly Stevens, Scotty Rose Growney, and Sam Geiserback. Those are the selections thus far through 10 rounds for Team Moreno. And with that being said, the latest players are joining in on their respective draft rooms, and as we take a look at Team Moreno, we move on to Sam's pick in round 10.
Goalie, Britt Reed.
Britt Reed was a rival captain of Sam Apuzo's back in week number 1, and this time a member of Team England at the World Lax Games. Britt Reed, who played at Oregon with her cause being Morgan's Message, is the 2nd goalie off the board and the 1st selected by Team Apuzo. And thus far, there is Britt. Lower right-hand portion of your screen joins in with a nice wave and joins in on the draft room call for Team Apuzo, marking the halfway point through the 10th round. And so all 4 goalies who were top in save percentage through the first 2 weeks are off the board. Moreno is number 1. A captain at 57%. Katie Glynn was another captain before in week number 1. So was Britt Reed and Kaylee Waters. All 4 off the board. Moreno, of course, being a captain for the 2nd straight week. And as we move on, Lizzie is ready to go with her pick.
Attacker, Aurora Cordingley.
Team Colson making the selection in round number 10 after going goalie, midfielder, and defender. Aurora Cordingley out of Maryland, another former Terp joining in on Team Colson. A native of Ontario, Canada, taken as the 3rd pick in round number 10. And that leaves Team Johansson with the final pick to conclude round number 10. And again, automatic drops start to play a factor as well, where players are automatically put on a team in terms of fulfilling that necessary requirement. So for example, if the last thing that Lizzie Colson needs is a goalie, automatically a goalie will be placed on her team to fulfill that requirement of the 4 midfielders, 4 attackers, 4 defenders, and 2 goalies. And the communication is great among all these players who have been selected for the 4 respective teams. All can communicate via text, whether it be on DMs or Slack, to work and coordinate with the captain, facilitator, and the rest of the team to work out the draft. Team Johansson ready to make the final pick in round 10.
Defender, Amber McKenzie.
Defender Amber McKenzie. The final pick of round number 10 will be donning the purple jersey this coming weekend out of North Carolina. So the 3rd defender, or I should say now the 4th defender, taken by Team Johansson, as Amber McKenzie back-to-back defenders to begin round number 11. And so as this snake draft continues, Team Johansson will have the first pick in round number 11. And Amanda, ready to go with her pick.
Goalie, Molly Wolf.
Another goalie off the board here in the latter stages of this draft, Molly Wolf, out of Loyola, Maryland, a native of Baltimore, Maryland, a hotbed for lacrosse if you're new to the sport, just outside of Sparks, Maryland, where USA Lacrosse headquarters is. And Molly Wolf with some great excitement, giving the fist pump, ready to go. I love the energy here for Team Johansson. Loving it. All smiles, ready to go. And as we move on, Lizzie Colson ready to make her round 11 selection.
Midfielder, Kerrigan Miller.
Kerrigan Miller, I should say, taken in round number 11 by Lizzie Colson. And so Team Colson gets another North Carolina standout here in the 11th round. And so that makes it the 4 midfielder requirement for Lizzie Colson as Kerrigan joins in, the latest in the draft room for Team Colson. So halfway through round number 11, and it's great to see these Zoom rooms, or some might call them a war room, where facilitators and the captain, they're the first 2 to start. And then after that, once a player is drafted, she immediately goes into the Zoom room and can be a part of the drafting process for the rest of the night to formulate the 14-player roster. And so as we wait for Team Apuzzo to make the next selection, we take a look inside their draft room. And this is what is left on the board. Sammy Jo Tracy, just the lone attacker. And Sam is ready to go with her 11th round pick.
Midfielder, Taylor Van Hoff.
Midfielder going to Team Apuzzo in round number 11 after Britt Reed was the first goalie. Taken for Orange, Taylor Van Hoff is going to Loyola, Maryland, with her cause being Morgan's Message. And she joins in on the call as well. As there's Taylor in the bottom right portion of your screen. And that leaves Team Marino with the final selection to go in round number 11. And after that, we just have 2 more rounds to go in this 13-round draft special in week number 3 of Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse. Sammy Jo Tracy, Sydney Watson, only attacker and midfielders left. And so rosters, just to keep in mind, will be down 1 player, or 2 players, I should say, with Kayla Wood and Jamie Ortega, both dealing with injuries this week. And with that being said, it plays a factor for these captains to which direction they want to go. You still have 3 goalies and 2 defenders that are left on the board to select from. Round 11 coming to a close, and Taylor is ready to make her pick.
Defender, Ali Palermo.
Ali Palermo, the latest pick This time to begin the final selection of round number 11 out of Northwestern. One Love Foundation, her cause. And so that will be the fourth defender fulfilling that requirement for Team Marino. She'll be wearing the gold this coming weekend in Sparks, Maryland, and she'll join in on the draft room for the final 2 rounds of this draft special, as those Zoom rooms continue to clutter up with players that hear their names from their respective captains along with the facilitator. And with 2 rounds to go, this snake draft continues. Taylor Moreno, who has the first pick in this next round because of this snake draft, is standing by, ready to make her pick.
Goalie Mira Shane.
We've been waiting to hear this name all night long. Mira Shane, who's going to be Taylor's backup this week out of Princeton, New Jersey. Played her college ball at Michigan. There she is. I've been waiting all night for Mira Shane. Look at that. Capped and ready to go. Dance moves alike. It's just great. I love the personality for Mira Shane. One of the best personalities in all of women's lacrosse. And we waited a little while, but we got down to the 12th round, and there she is. Her and Taylor, the 2 goalies for Team Marino this coming week, starting on Thursday down in Sparks, Maryland. Great to see Mira's name off the board, wearing gold this coming week. And as we wait for Team Apuzzo to make their pick in the 12th round, here's how the rosters have formulated to this point. Ali Mastriani, Charlotte North, Dempsey Arsenault, and Marie McCool, the first 4 selections of this week's draft. Interesting to note, we have had a number 1 pick different for 3 straight weeks here in Athletes Unlimited in this second season of women's lacrosse. Charlotte North, who was a 2-time Tewaaraton winner at BC, was the top overall pick in week number 1, fell to number 7 overall last week, and here she is, picked number 2, and then Team Apuzzo going with Dempsey Arsenault for 2 of the first 3 weeks, as Team Apuzzo and Team Colson, right now, the only 2 teams who are 3-0 in the first 2 weeks. Sam, ready to go here in round 12.
Goalie Paulina Tafada.
Paulina Tafada coming off the board in round number 12. So 2 of the last 3 picks for Team Apuzzo have been goalies. The 2 goalie requirement fulfilled by Team Apuzzo. Tafada, who played her college at Pitt, with her cause being Morgan's Message. And so she'll be wearing orange this weekend, and there she is at the bottom of your screen, entering in the draft room for Team Apuzzo, which leaves Sam with 1 final pick to round out this 13-round draft in Athletes Unlimited. That puts Team Colson on the board, and it'll be followed by Team Johansson. Again, the automatic drop could be a factor in these final 2 rounds, and here's what we're looking at for the Week 3 schedule. Starting on Thursday, Joe Beninati, along with Courtney Martinez-Connor, will have the call for you from Sparks, Maryland. ESPNU, ESPN2 is where you can find those games on Thursday. ESPN Plus on Saturday. And then the action wraps up on Sunday, August 7th, with games at 1 and 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, both available on ESPNU. Only 4 players remain, including Sammy Jo Tracy and Sarah Cooper. Again, if you're just joining us, Kayla Wood, Jamie Ortega, both out dealing with injuries at this point. Lizzie Colson ready to go to make her pick.
Defender Sarah Cooper.
Defender Sarah Cooper. Her name called by Team Colson. And that'll be the 4th defender selected by Team Colson out of Syracuse, with her cause being One Love Foundation. The Lutherville, Maryland native saying hello with the wave to Team Colson, joins in on the draft room. We'll be donning the blue this coming Thursday when the action starts. And so Team Johansson is on the clock to make the final selection of round 12. She'll also, because of this snake draft, make her pick in round number 13. So again, the automatic drop, as we've mentioned throughout the night, could play a factor as well for these captains with the final picks remaining in this Week 3 draft special. All 4 teams on the board right now with 5 selections left to be made by these 4 captains. Molly Wolf, Amber McKenzie, Courtney Taylor, and Kaylee Waters, the last ones to be picked, and you just saw the automatic drop. So Sammy Jo Tracy, who, if you recall, had that game winner in overtime going for North Carolina back in 2013 in Villanova. Molly Doherty now an automatic drop for Team Colson is off the board. So the goalie off the board for Team Colson. Team Moreno going with Sydney Watson for their automatic drop. And so we still have Team Apuzzo and Team Johansson left with 2 picks. And the final 2 drops were Sydney Watson and Molly Doherty, those 2 spots that you see blank, Kayla Wood and Jamie Ortega, both who were available, not right now because of injury. They all were dropped in, were 2 down because of the injuries to Kayla Wood and Jamie Ortega. But there you go, Season 2, Week 3 draft in the books for Team Moreno, Team Apuzzo, Team Colson, and Team Johansson. And Thursday, we will hear Joe Beninati and Courtney Martinez-Connor call the action from Sparks, Maryland. Week 3 schedule as it plays out. Team Colson versus Team Apuzzo. One of those players will have a loss for the first time this season. Those games on EU and on E2. Saturday on ESPN Plus and Sunday on ESPNU. One final look. Here is Team Johansson. Can they make some noise this week? Amanda Johansson back in the captain's chair for a 2nd straight week. The former USC star hoping, and Team Colson. Will Lizzie finally lose one this week? If you ask her, no. She's trying to go 3-0 for another straight week. And here is Sam Apuzzo. There's the wave by the captain. Team Apuzzo constructed, ready to go, make some noise. Could she go 3-0 for a 3rd straight week? And Taylor Moreno, a captain for the 2nd straight week, the top point getter to this point. Can she stay in that position? We will find out. Again, the action is coming up this Thursday from Sparks, Maryland. So it will be interesting to see what this battle will prevail as 31 points separate 1st and 2nd for the top point getter. I'm John Brickley. Thanks to all for working here tonight on this telecast. We will see you Thursday from Sparks, Maryland for all the actions.